We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity for Legacy Partners, Virtual Assistants, and EVAs. So in this here, what we're doing is teaching people, how to go ahead and be encouragers. Like, how do you go ahead and develop people? People don't know how to develop people. So the next dimension principle, hopefully you guys all know how to do that. But here is, here's when somebody does a new behavior, they're doing a daily report, they're anything new, you want to praise them. You want to lift, way to go, attaboy, that's awesome. You do that for a toddler. You never ever hear somebody saying to a toddler, when they fall down, you'll never walk again in your life. Like, you'll never walk again. And you never hear that. Everybody's an encourager to a toddler. Everybody is. Like, everybody. Hey, way to go. You took 2 steps. As adults, we don't have a lot of encouragers in our life. So people are hungry for encouragement. Now, so any questions on that? So all 3 of you can be encouragers. If you're amiable, you're more naturally an encourager. But even I, as a driver analytic, can be an encourager. I don't really like it. I mean, I do with my grandkids, but I don't like it with adults. But, so if you don't have encouragers and you do a new behavior, you want to go ahead and learn how to pat yourself on the back. So there's a code that I have. I don't use it much anymore, but every once in a while, if I'm feeling insecure, I've trained the people around me. If I'm feeling insecure, I will ask them if there's anything they want to say. Because I don't do it a lot. They're like, no. I'm like, are you sure? They're like, yes. I'm like, you don't have anything to say to me at all. And they're like, oh, you're amazing, Dad. Or, Elise or Elaine will go and say, you're amazing, Mark. You're a great leader. So if I'm feeling insecure, like I'm a terrible leader, I'm a terrible dad, I'm a terrible husband, hopefully I've gone to a new dimension. Hopefully I haven't slipped backwards. And so I need encouragement. But the best encourager is me to myself. Like I shouldn't need to have, so I try to teach my sons and my grandsons especially, you don't need somebody telling you you're doing a good job all the time. You just don't. As a man, get used to it. You're not going to have very many people telling you you're doing a good job. You just won't. You just won't. You will not. So don't come to depend on other people's encouragement because it's not going to be there. So just get used to it. It's okay. You don't need it. You can do it yourself. Like, wow, I made a breakthrough. So the 4 different personalities, each of them. So when the cheerleader, when an amiable goes ahead and holds somebody accountable, they're probably going to do a pathetic job. They'll be really gentle and soft. Hey, are you doing okay? Doesn't matter. You encourage them. Wow, you've really busted their chops. Way to go. Like my mom said about Rosanna, it's like when Rosanna disciplines the children, she does it with a smile on her face. So the kids didn't take her discipline seriously. It's hard for her. It's just hard. It's just very, very hard. And so the analytic, you encourage them when they make a mistake. Way to go, you made a mistake. That's awesome. I can't believe you made a mistake. Whoa, cheer, like make another one. Come on, make another mistake. You have to do that to the analytic because the analytic hates making mistakes. The next level is going to be, is going to go ahead and be an expressive. And so, wow, I can't believe it. You were focused for 3 minutes. That's amazing. Keep up that good work. Like, wow, I can't believe it. 3 minutes of consistency, 3 minutes where you didn't have to have fun. You are just a wild person, you know? And the driver, you know, wow, I can't believe it. You actually didn't destroy them. I mean, you did destroy the person, but you took at least 10 minutes to before you destroyed them. And they're in tears, but it's not too, you were really gentle and soft to them. Wow, Mark, you're such an encourager. You are so nice. You are so gentle. Now, my gentle is somebody else's harshness, but nobody encourages us in things that are hard for us. So when somebody makes a breakthrough, they need encouragement. But you don't want to give encouragement too long, because if you do, they get addicted to the encouragement, especially men with women. Big time. Big time. When a woman encourages a man, it's like a dopamine hit to his brain. He thinks he's a stud. He thinks he's amazing. Like Betty Clark did to me when she was, I don't know, in her 50s and I was 24. And she came up to me. I remember exactly where I was standing. And she said, Mark, you're going to be really, really successful with this company. I'm like, really? Like I was making a buck an hour, $1 an hour. Like I was getting destroyed. I mean, it was terrible. And I said, really, why? She says, I can just tell. I don't know, honestly. But I thought of her often when I felt like quitting, when it was really discouraging. So a woman's encouragement to a man, women, they don't understand how sensitive men are to women. They don't understand the power, both pushing and otherwise. Very, very powerful. Now, once somebody goes to the new dimension, the next dimension, there's new rules in this dimension. So, when you go from an employee to, being a business owner, you have freedom, but that freedom can enslave you if you don't honor and respect it properly. So there's new rules in the dimension. So in income, your first dimension is $1 an hour, then it's 250, then it's 5, then it's 10, then it's 25, then it's 50, then it's 100, then it's 250, then it's 500, and then it's $1,000 an hour. So it's roughly doubling. It's roughly doubling your income. And every time you double your income, it's a new dimension. What's the difference between, making 50,000 and 100,000 a year? It's how you think. It's how you think. When we learn to think differently, we can double our income. So you have to be taught the new rules in this new dimension. Questions? That's the analytic. Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Level 3. When people are taught, they don't do the right actions in the right way over the right period of time, so they don't get the results. And then what they do is they blame the system. That's the Golf Pro principle with Tom Kuntz. Are you all familiar with that principle?
Which one? Say that again.
The Golf Pro principle.
No.
So Tom,
No.
he's a big golfer, but he wasn't good at it, he said. And so he bought all these nice clubs and everything, but it didn't help his game. So finally he got a Golf Pro. He got a Golf Pro and went out to the driving range, and the Golf Pro, they shook hands, exchanged pleasantries. And then the Golf Pro said, Tom, give me your club that never works. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, the one that never goes straight, always left or right. Tom starts laughing and says, that's all of the clubs.
I remember you saying this before.
Yeah. So that's the Golf Pro principle. Very important principle. So, Tom gives him the club and, he says, give me the worst club, the one that never works. And he gives him the club and then he drops the ball, lines it up, whacks it down a mile down the center of the driving range. The Golf Pro looks at Tom, looks at the clubs and says, good news, Tom. It's not the clubs that are the problem. So people that, say, well, EVAs, VAs, and LPs. Your system doesn't work. No, it's not the system. You're not using the system as you should be. You're not doing the things you need to do. If you don't do the right actions in the right way over the right period of time, you're not going to see success. It's really that easy. So when people go ahead, they're not listening. People don't listen well. They're not paying attention. When you're teaching them in the analytic, how to play football, or soccer or baseball, they're not listening. The coach is the expressive, and they're the ones that, they'll bench a person, they'll get in their face, they may yell at them, they may go ahead and beat them up. So they're more aggressive, but they can do it in a fun way. So that's the expressive. So, the teacher is not responsible for the student to go ahead and apply it, really. They're not. But the coach has to win. Like if you don't apply it, you're not going to win. And in sports, it's important to win. It really is, no matter what people say. Like, why are we going to play if we're not going to win? Now, what winning is a whole different story. Okay. And then that level 4 is the Navy SEALs. Now, my brother, he was in the Marines for 22 years, and he said that a general enlisted person's harder to lead than a Navy SEAL. I said, really? Why is that? He said, Navy SEALs opt in, and they, so it's brutal. The program is brutal. They will brutalize you. I mean, just brutalize you. And so this is when you want to make a breakthrough. Of these 4, which ones am I naturally good at? You can guess. Like, which one am I best at? Cheerleader, teacher, coach, or Navy SEAL?
Navy SEAL.
Navy SEAL, without question. That is in my sweet spot. That is when I'm best. That is when I can go ahead. I had an executive assistant. Her name was Natalie. She went ahead, and when she was in the mentoring program, she came like 3 minutes late. Man, did I rip her. She was stunned. She was absolutely stunned. But she responded well to it. So Navy SEAL it's flawless. You'll never hear a Navy SEAL ever hear a Navy SEAL or a top gymnast ever say, well, nobody's perfect. Navy SEALs don't say that. They just don't. Top level Olympians don't say nobody's perfect. We're all human. You'll never hear them say that. They don't allow that to enter into their mind. They just don't. This is why it's important to understand your life vision, what you're put on this planet to do. This is why it's important when you're around or being treated like a Navy SEAL. This is why it's important to have a lot of, like, what's your life vision? What were you put on this planet to do? It's important to understand, like, you were creating God's image. Like, that's never going to change. Navy SEALs, so that's number 1. What's my second greatest strength? Teacher. Yep, analytic. And I can teach things. I understand the science of things. I can break it down into, like this right here. I can break it down into, and where did I learn these 4 levels? It's with my children, with Jonathan and Melissa when they went ahead and were 18 and left home. This is when I understood the dimensions and how the different things happen. So which of the 4 am I weakest at?
Cheerleader.
No, it's actually the coach, the expressive. So it's hard for me to be an expressive. So this is very important that you all do with one another. So you all have to do it. When you have new team members coming in, you have to do it. We'll go ahead and tack on one more thing here in the podcast here. So we're going to go ahead. You guys need to learn how to be social. Like, being raised Baptist, I couldn't dance. I couldn't even square dance. Like, I had to, when I was in grade school, my parents went ahead and gave a teacher a note. It was embarrassing, but it is what it is. So we had to go to the library, or we had to just sit and watch. So I'm in grade school and I couldn't do square dancing. Like, why? It's against our religious beliefs, I guess. Like my parents wouldn't let us square dance. It's like, okay, which is, it's fine. And so it's kind of like that. Like, when boys and girls, as they start to hit puberty, they're afraid of one another. This is not an all a bad thing. This is some of this is really good. But if you can't go ahead and learn how to connect with the opposite sex, talk to him. You're not going to get married, and so how do you connect? And so you guys are all like this with one another. Like I tell people to get to know Adam, and does anybody do it? I get to tell people to do this with Cheryl, and does anybody do it? What about with Maria? What about with Greg? What about with so any new people, they're coming into a new environment. There's new words and phrases, and it's overwhelming. So, like, I have to teach everybody how to go ahead and be nice and be social. And so, what would be some things that for a new person? Let's go ahead and Maria. So, like, you guys call Maria and introduce yourself. What are you guys going to say to her?
I don't know.
Just say that, you're working with Mark and that you're excited that she has joined the team, and if she has any questions to contact you, that you would be glad to help her, things like that.
Yeah. See, that's really easy. In addition, if you wanted to go another layer deeper, what would you then ask?
Is there something I can help you with?
Yeah, she probably won't know that because she's just lost. You remember the first time you met me? It's like you're lost.
Yeah.
So what you do is, so tell me a little bit about yourself. You just say, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Where are you from? Do you have siblings? What do your parents do for occupation? You go ahead and say, what are some of your goals in life, career wise, personally? Are you in a relationship? Do you have any children? Married? So what you do is, do you have hobbies, sports? What kind of food do you like? So you go ahead, and there's something that's called the McKay 66. This is for sales. So this is the McKay 66, without swim with the sharks without being eaten alive. So the McKay 66, the McKay 66 is, so it's like, here's a bunch of stuff, name, nickname. Do you have a nickname? Title, company, address, home, business, date of birth, place. Where were you born? Mark. Like, Mark, where were you born? Omaha, Nebraska. Wow, that's where Warren Buffett's is, right? Your hometown. Height, weight. You might not ask that. Some of these you just match it. Like, so these are things you write down. Now this is in sales, high level sales. And then, education. So what kind of education background have you had? Did you play sports in school or extracurricular things? Any military service? And then family, marital status, spouse, wedding anniversary, children, children's education, interests. Like, what are your kids interested in? So background, previous employment, what's your what's your history? What you're doing is, there's 66 questions here. There's additional ones that we've come up with, but here's some interesting club service. Like, do you participate? Do you volunteer? Are you passionate about anything political? Are you involved in politics? Again, you got to be careful on what you ask. And then, why is this important? Are you involved in the community at all? How? religion, again, being careful, but, so learning how to ask that, not to be discussed, but, are they, do they have addictions? Do they divorce or, anything there? What are your interests, hobbies, feeling? What do you have strong feelings about lifestyle? Like it gets into medical history. Again, you don't ask them, but you find out. Does the customer drink? If yes, what and how much? Are they offended by other people drinking? Does the customer smoke? Favorite place for lunch, dinner, favorite items? Does the customer object to anyone buying his or her meals, hobbies, interests, vacation, spectator sports, cars, conversations of interest? There's all of this, like there's all of these questions. Like, and so you just be interested in the person. See, if people, so find that when you're interested in people, they're interested in you, they're interested in the success. So when you're in sales, if you're an LP and you're not making any money, why would you continue if you're working hard? So the relationship, the connection, what's the relationship? People are interested in relationships. And so you want to help them, they want to help you. So, but people don't know how to develop relationships, with outside people, especially the Amish. Why? And the Boersmas. Why? Because there's big families. So when you have big families, you have 1,000 people come see your wedding. Like when you have huge families, you don't need to learn to develop skills outside. You don't need to learn how to develop relationships because you always have family and there's aunts and uncles, and nieces, and nephews. There's tons of family. But if you only have 1 or 2 kids in your family and you only have like a handful. So when you're a business owner, so I've had to learn how to develop relationships and be an interesting person. People think I'm an interesting person. I'm a driver analytic. I'm not interesting at all. Everything that people think is interesting, it's all fake. No, it's not fake. It's just not natural for me. It's not natural for me to go ahead and be an amiable. It's not natural for me to be an expressive. It's not natural for me to talk to people. I just don't talk to people. So learning how to go ahead, and connect with people, connect with people is really, really important. And then learning how to attract people to you, and then learning how to develop people. So learning how to develop people and like, how do I go ahead and become an interesting person? I was remembering I was at a coffee connection. When she wants attention, let me tell you, she wants it. Can you say hi to everybody? Say hi.
Hi.
Grandpa's kind of working on this, but he'll be done soon.
All right.
Yeah, let me tell you, she's a sassy one. I love sassy. Boo. Okay, I love you. And so I remember when Jonathan and Rosanna were at our oldest son, he was probably mid-20s, I'm guessing. And they were at a coffee connection, and we went around the table and said, what's one thing that you'd really like to accomplish or do? Like something important. And they both said, I want to be an interesting person. I was stunned. I'm like, you two are the two of the most interesting people I know. But they didn't know how to do it intentionally. So when you're interested in other people, like you want to go ahead, and like Maria, she wants, so she's shy. She's shy. So, that's something I know about. So if you're shy, like I'm shy too, nobody believes it, but I am. I'm super shy, really shy, big time. So read the book by Dale Carnegie on how to win friends and influence people. So you talk about them. what's interesting to them. Why is it interesting? Why do you find it interesting? So hopefully this has been helpful to all of you. You know, think of 2 other people. Like, you probably think you're a caring person. Are you? Like, at first thing you thought, when you're going through this podcast, is the first thing you thought, who's going to benefit from this? Like, who would benefit? Who would really, is that what your first thought is your first thought on you? Like, how am I benefit? If you're not thinking, when you're going through podcasts, if you're not thinking, who else would benefit from what I'm learning now? If you're not thinking that, well, you're probably not as caring person as you think you are, which is okay. Just, understand it. Make sure you talk to your art mentor, 2 art buddies. If you don't have an art mentor and 2 art buddies, man, talk to somebody about getting something. That's wild. Awesome.